This is Ben with RC Flux. This is a review for the RC18B2 T2 kit. The kit comes with all parts required for the car except the motor, ESC receiver, and servo, and the battery, which you need to purchase separately. The most noticeable feature is the aluminum-bodied shocks. They're pretty nice shocks. I mean, in comparison to a Losi Mini T stock, you can see that they're just plastic, and they're not really adjustable. If you look at the kit, you can see that they are indeed adjustable. However, I was really surprised to find out that the springs weren't long enough to be able to extend further than pretty much the lowest adjustment. So if you see here that I'm kind of unscrewing the adjuster on the shocks, the spring is loose. Now that really surprised me, and it pretty much only gives me the option to screw this down all the way, which I probably would have done anyway, depending on how soft the shocks were, but you know, it's kind of nice to have that capability, which you don't. They are oil filled, which is nice. However, assembling the shocks is difficult because you use these tiny E-clips, and I broke the last one I tried to put on, and now one of the shocks, this one, doesn't have the piston inside it because the E-clip couldn't hold it because it broke, and there were no spares. There's the same shocks on the back. The springs are a little bit longer. The shocks have a little bit more travel. Again, you can't really extend it further than the shortest setting, but you know, it's alright anyway. They are oil filled. Moving on from the shocks, we're going to be looking at the drivetrain. Now, I'm not going to open up the drivetrain because it's basically disassembling the entire car, but basically what you got is you got the motor attached with a pinion gear to this spur gear. Now this spur gear has a belt going to the front differential and a short belt going to the rear differential. Now, I've heard many accounts of belt tension being too high in the front belt, but as far as it goes, you know, the belt tension seems fine. However, the pinion gear that attaches to the motor, this particular motor didn't have a sort of a cutout for the little screw to sit in. I dremeled one out, but the thing is that the little screw, it had an Allen socket which was very small, but came with a wrench, but it was still very small, and it stripped extremely easily, and the pinion did not easily hold to the motor. Now, that was a big problem because the motor shaft was spinning inside the pinion instead of spinning the pinion, which wasn't moving the car. So I took a screw, and the screw that was the same size as the hole in the pinion, and I screwed it in, and I cut off the end of the screw. So I don't know how I'm going to get the pinion off if I need to, but it's in there now. Apparently you didn't need to adjust the motor mounting plate, but I absolutely did need to drill further in because the widest holes on the barrel of the motor were not wide enough for the shortest holes on the motor mount plate. Apart from that, I really do like the motor mount. What you do is you unscrew these two screws, and this comes out. Now, once this is out, the motor, you can sort of turn it in itself in the thing, and it will pop right out. There's a motor. So you can see that I did have to drill these slits on the silver mounting plate further in towards the hole which the pinion sits through, and in order for those screws to fit in. The screws, there were no screws that came with the kit that would fit into the motor's threads, or the ones that did come didn't fit, so I had to find some screws for my spare parts screws bin. Other than that, we have, I've heard many accounts of the steering geometry giving a little bit of give. However, if we compare that to a stock Losi Mini-T, the Mini-T has much more. Now, the other side of the car, we have the battery tray. Now, the battery tray, I really like. Everyone says they like the battery tray on this car. It's basically just a plastic part that you take your battery, goes in here like so, and you put it over here, and the battery is pretty much secure. We can see the RC18 is a lot longer from the end to the front. It's relatively the same width, and I really like the shocks a lot more on the RC18 than I do on the Mini-T. The ones on the Mini-T are not as strong, not as stiff. Every time you jump just a little bit, it's gonna hit the ground. No question about it. The chassis is gonna hit the ground anytime you jump. On the RC18, it is just, it's gonna be fine. It's not hitting the ground. I feel like it's gonna improve the handling a lot more. The side roll is still good. I mean, it's just, it feels a lot more sturdy than the Mini-T does.